Hello again. So, looking at page 21 of Modern Chord Progressions. Now, this page is really part of a whole section about chord scales and string transference, right? And what does that mean? Well, a chord scale is playing all of the chords of a particular scale in sequence. So, for instance, if we're thinking E major, I can play the scale. Can I accompany those notes with their corresponding chord instead of just the E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E? How about E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A, B, C sharp minor, D sharp diminished, E? So that's a chord scale, right? It's, in a sense, you could think of it as every note in the chord is just going up or down to the next note in the scale. E goes up to F sharp, B goes up to C sharp, and G sharp goes up to A, right? Or down. This sort of practice is very, very powerful and extremely helpful if you are interested in becoming a more chordally sophisticated player and melodically sophisticated player. But, just being able to move chords like that in sequence on the guitar is, first of all, it's very beautiful. And it isn't sort of the typical orientation, right? When we think scales on the guitar, very often we're thinking moving across the neck. And, we're not thinking necessarily about chords, right? But it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to have in your toolkit, right? So on page 21, Ted gives us like maybe 10 inversions of an E major chord, and he wants us to take each one of these through the diatonic chord scale, like I just did here, right? E, F sharp, G sharp, E, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A, B, etc. But these are in inversion, in first inversion. So the third is in the bass. And Ted says, you'll notice that these are first inversions. There's a certain magic in first inversion chord scales that seems to have drawn composers and players to use them more frequently than their root position or second inversion brothers. But this is only true as far as 4-note triads go, not 3-note triads or seventh chords. So that's Ted's observation and insight there. He says, one more point that should be mentioned here. These chord scales will be more fun and will sound more interesting if you decorate them. By decoration, I mean breaking them up in certain ways, such as delaying notes, etc. So let's experiment for a minute here. Let's look at this first form right here. Now this is an E major chord in first inversion. We have the third, the root, the fifth, and the root, or G sharp, E, B, E. And initially, we just want to run that and solve how, if that's E major, what's F sharp minor going to look like? What's G sharp minor going to look like? What's A going to look like? What's B going to look like? C sharp minor, and the odd one out, D sharp diminished, and you're back at E. Initially, you just want to be able to play that up and down. Oop, yeah, and don't get too quick into the decorating. But for instance, in terms of decoration, what we can do is, just one of many examples, is voice the lower 3 and have the top note come later. Now how about you flip that on its head? So I'll do top note by itself, followed by the bottom 3. Something like that. Now what about alternating those? For instance, that's a nice sound. coming down, same thing. Another way I like to decorate these things is going outer voices to the inner voices, right? So outer, inner, outer, inner. Now, of course, you can flip that on its head. Inner, outer. Oh. And then, of course, alternating that as you go. So, for instance, outer, inner, inner, outer. Outer, inner, inner, outer. Wonderful, right? Okay. So, essentially, you're just choosing, some voicings of the chord to sound them earlier and some later, right? Now, of course, you can just arpeggiate, and it doesn't need to be straight up or down. It could... I'm just sort of winging it, right? But you can think more about your right hand here. What if I go, thumb, ring, index, middle? Practice. Right? Yeah, it's funny because we're sort of doing 4 scales at once. This scale, right? This scale. Oh, pardon me. This scale and this scale all together, right? So plenty for the brain to deal with and the ears to deal with, a lot of information in there. And hence the need for repetition and choosing to be conscious of different aspects of the sound, right? Like you can ask yourself, like, can I really hear that bottom note? Oh, and play the right chord, not like that. All right, if you really want to dial this in, you got to sing one of these pitches. Right? And to do that with every one of those pitches, you'll really start to expand your capacity to hear harmony, to hear how chords are put together by picking a pitch in the chord and singing that voice, especially as you go through the chord scale, right? So there I sang the bottom voice as I went through that chord scale. Oh, let me try again. Now, I'm not a great singer by any stretch of the old imagination, but I've definitely reaped the benefits of singing what I'm playing in practice, right? You want to sing what you play. It gets it closer to you, more intimate, literally, in your body. Your vocal cord is moving, right? You're embodying the sound. So don't shy away from singing. I know a lot of players do, and I'm not really one to sing in performance, maybe a couple tunes, but not much, but really more in the practice room, just as a means of really settling into the sound and embodying the sound and knowing it in a way that you won't know it that way if you just listen, right? You want to listen deeply, of course, and closely, but to sound it from your vocal cords is very powerful. So give it a shot if you're not one to do that often. So anyway, that was just one of these voicings. Let's look at another one I really like. I like this one, Right, so you've got the third, and then that typical D form triad up there. Right, it's an E major triad. Right, now that's an inversion of good old E major. And taking that through the E major scale, you learn quite a bit, right? We notice that E major is very, very similar to G sharp minor 7, right? We kind of learn these affinity between chords, right? One note difference. Anyway, if I go through the scale, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A, B, C sharp minor, and D sharp diminished, and back to E. And I mean, it's a beautiful sound, of course, not too difficult to grab, and it can also show us how certain chords are very much related, like E and G sharp minor, or F sharp minor, or is this an A6, right? F sharp minor 7, A6, right? Is this a G sharp minor chord, or is it some sort of B major chord, right? A B6 kind of thing, you see what I'm saying? A major, or is it C sharp minor, etc. B major. Now this one, if we're going to, more to say about this one, we'd have to do that to stay diatonic. You don't have to stay diatonic. And remember, what does diatonic mean? It means we're only using a particular set of notes. So if we're diatonic to E major, we're only using the notes from the E major scale. Now, you don't need to remain diatonic to stay in a single key, but it certainly makes staying in a particular key a lot more certain and clear. Anyway, this is nice. I like this one a lot. Right, D sharp diminished, equating to a some sort of F sharp minor 6 sound. All right, and we're back to E. And you practice your embellishments, right? Outer, inner, inner, outer, arpeggiate. And this is just another one of the shapes Ted gives us. He gives us this one. Beautiful sound. I'm loving it. Goodness. Nope. Oh no. Gotta practice, right? And then, right, and a form of a decoration I didn't discuss is, you know, playing a little bit of a melody on top. Like, for instance, we've got this shape, we got this shape. Well, what if I blend them? What if I go? Or, see what I'm saying? Oh yeah. D sharp diminished. And we're backwards. Forgive me, it's a little tough up here. And damn, Jakob. There we go. And so look, if you're getting burnt out on scales, then you got to try chord scales, because it's at least 3 scales at once. And page 21 of Modern Chord Progression is going to give you all these handy-dandy inversions to run chord scales in. And it will really expand your chordal knowledge, your mapping, your relationship with this thing, right? So practice your chord scales. Page 21. I'm done for now. Peace.